Hallo und willkommen, welcome to AidanEyewitness. In this video I tell the story of my gigantic photo collage, the Manchester Megaphoto, captured in February 2006 and displayed at Urbis Manchester from mid-2008. It was the largest and most detailed photo collage of Manchester ever created. Probably. I'm including my interview on Channel M with Byron and Nikki, set against detailed shots zooming into and panning around the digital version of the Manchester Megaphoto, which is actually smaller than the original photo collage. And by coincidence, there was around the same time a gigantic painting of Liverpool by Ben Jonson. That's on display at the Museum of Liverpool. Oh, and by the way, as well as liking and subscribing, you can now buy me a coffee or tea. That's the new way to support what I'm doing. As a YouTube creator, I drink a lot of tea and the occasional coffee, so your support will help fuel my videos and campaigns. So let's wind the clock back now to mid-1996, which is our starting point. The late 1990s and 2000s was an exciting time in Manchester. I documented progress on my AidanEyewitness Manchester website. The city was being rebuilt after the IRA bomb, which exploded on Saturday the 15th of June 1996. And by the way, it wasn't the, quote, biggest favour anyone ever did to Manchester. It was a pointless act of terrorism that could easily have killed hundreds of people. It injured around 200. And devastated a whole city quarter. The regeneration of Manchester was already underway. The destruction made things go faster and attracted extra funding. Many new buildings appeared, including Urbis, designed by Ian Simpson Architects, now Simpson Hall. Completed in 2002, it was a groundbreaking, though controversial building due to its design and cost. It was conceived as a museum of the city and a venue for events. I photographed its construction and took photos for the City Voices exhibit on the top floor, featuring video interviews with local people. In the end, I was interviewed for it as well. A few years later, a new structure started to appear on the site of an old railway viaduct at the bottom of Deansgate. It was the Beetham Tower, also designed by Ian Simpson. I took a keen interest in it and documented its progress. On my AidanEyewitness Manchester website, I expressed a wish to go to the top and take photos. My wish was granted by one of my readers, who was working on the project at the time, and invited me to go on site and ascend to the top. My first photos were a bit misty. It was early 2006 in the middle of winter. Then an idea came into my head. Maybe I could take a gigantic composite photograph of the view, consisting of multiple shots taken with a zoom lens. For many years, I had dreamed of taking a mega photo collage like this, but I needed sunny weather. Soon it was clear, and after a quick phone call, I was allowed to go to the top with my Fuji digital SLR camera and zoom lens. On the roof, construction was still in progress. Just beyond the safety barrier was a 158-metre drop. After some test shots, I took the camera off the tripod and used it handheld. Starting in the upper left with the zoom lens on 300mm, I took roughly overlapping photos covering the entire view in columns from top left to lower right. It took over an hour and my hands were freezing. I packed the camera, went back down to the ground, thanked my contact and returned home. Studying the photos, well over 1,000, I was impressed with the detail, but what was I going to do with them all? I tried merging a few of them in Photoshop, but I soon ran out of memory. I would need a much more powerful computer. I decided to put the project to one side. In the meantime, I visited Urbis quite a few times and documented some of their exhibitions. I got to know a few of the staff there. And then, in early 2008, an idea came into my head. Instead of trying to create a mega-sized digital file, why not simply print out the images at poster size and stick them up on a wall to make a gigantic photo collage? But where would I find a wall big enough to display it? I contacted the people at Urbis, and they thought it was a great idea. I made a proposal including a visualization. It would be roughly 8 meters wide by 4 meters high. I named it the Manchester Megaphoto, and it would probably be the largest megapixel image of Manchester ever created. Urbis commissioned the work and paid for the prints, which filled the boot of my car. The printing was done by my colleagues at Big Exposure Print. I highly recommend them, look them up online. There was an existing exhibit named The City Wall. To provide the display surface, it was covered in wood and painted white. Beginning from a cross I made in the middle with a pencil, 2 assistants started to put up the photos using double-sided tape, working outwards. After 3 days, all the photos were mounted. It looked stunning. It went on display on Friday the 4th of July, 2008. The plan was to keep it on display for a few months. It was a big hit with visitors and a great educational resource. People stood in front of it for a long time, studying all the details and pointing at features within the cityscape. We tried to find sponsorship, but apart from Citycope, there were no offers. It was in the midst of the banking crisis. Still, I gained a lot of good publicity, including a double-page spread in the Manchester Evening News. At the time, the studio of Channel M was in the Urbis building, and they did the following interview with me.
That's all thanks to Manchester photographer Aidan O'Rourke, who joins us this morning. A very good morning to you. Morning. And you're the chap responsible for the rather stunning photograph we've got in the foyer here at the Urbis, the Manchester Megaphoto. We've got some pictures there.
It's massive.
It's wonderful. How did this come about then, Aidan?
Well, I was invited to go at the Beetham Tower while it was under construction, and I took the opportunity to do a project which I'd been planning for quite some years, because I've been interested in digital photography since 1994, and I'd always had this idea of taking a multiple digital photograph with huge amount of detail. And I was looking for the right subject, and the view of the Manchester cityscape from the Beetham Tower was the ideal subject, so I went ahead and took one. And I say one, it was one photograph, but it consisted of 860 photographs. So 860 photographs taken with a zoom lens.
Right. So, how do you do that? Are you very, like, still and then shot, or...?
That's, yeah, basically, yes. I tried using a tripod first, but I couldn't really set it up properly. I didn't have enough control over the camera. So I just got rid of the tripod and then just did it handheld. So I started at the top left corner of on the horizon, or the hills above Bury, and then just went in... like in columns down, and then the next column and the next column and so on, until I'd completed a sort of roughly 180-degree panorama. And for Urbis, we used a section of that, because if we'd actually done the whole panorama that I took, then it would be actually 3 times the width of what's there. So there is a possibility maybe in the future of doing the full width. So what you're seeing there is a 90-degree panorama.
Now, the fascinating thing about that picture, and I suppose about Manchester as well, because that picture was taken in 2006.
Yes.
And as you have a look at it now, it's interesting to see the dramatic changes since already.
Yes.
The ever-changing face of the cityscape of Manchester is frightening, isn't it?
Yes, yes. Well, one of the most obvious things on the right-hand side is City Tower has since been painted white. That's quite striking. And many of the buildings that were under construction at the time have now been completed, like West Properties at Skyline Central, that's visible.
Yeah.
Tempest, I think the Tempest Tower on the left, the Great Northern Tower in the foreground, they've all been completed. And then there are other things as well, and one of the most striking things, if you look now at the same scene in the top left-hand corner on the hills, is the wind farm, Scoutmoor Wind Farm.
Right.
So have you plans to do another one then, sort of, are you going to follow this, perhaps, every couple of years, take the same again to chart
that would be a good
progress?
idea, yes, and I'd like to do different views as well, yes.
I think it's a fantastic way of archiving Manchester's changing city scene. But, I mean, I love the view from Beetham Tower. I think it's fantastic. Just unfortunately, that majority of people won't be able to get to see it because that bar area is not open until the evening. Yeah. So it's not until night time that people can actually get up there and have a look.
This is the view from the roof, of course.
Right.
Which, you know, you don't normally have access to. And it is such a shame that Manchester doesn't have a proper observation tower like Toronto or New York or whatever. I think that's something that we really need, a place where you can look at Manchester
Definitely, because it's so beautiful, and even in a sort of standard size photograph you'd see that it's a stunning view, but the detail in which your photographs allow us to see things, it's really fascinating.
And you
probably walk past
plates.
it every day, and little do you know how
there's always
beautiful
something
it is.
to look at. And
Is this your stock in trade, Aidan, the sort of landscapes?
well, I've photographed Manchester and other cities since 1996. And I'm mainly interested in all aspects of the city, the architecture, street scenes, transport, everything that you see out and about, you know, when you're walking through the city.
Yeah.
Do you have a favourite view or a favourite place around Manchester, Greater Manchester, in which to take a photograph? Perhaps a hidden gem that you could tell us about?
Well, my favourite place around the Greater Manchester area would be the city centre. I think it's a large concentration of interesting things there, and it's familiar to everybody. But I also like taking landscapes as well.
Urbis there, and then immediately opposite you've got Cheetham School, music just there, which is ancient.
Yes.
And, you know, we've got the John Rylands Library next to the brand new Bank of Scotland.
Right, yeah.
Juxtaposition is fantastic.
That's it, yes. I like the contrasts and the fact that it's changing. There's always something new. And, of course, there are lots of buildings disappearing as well, unfortunately.
Yes.
And I try and capture as many of them as I can, but don't always manage it.
Well, Aidan, your mega photo is going to be here in the foyer of Urbis until, hopefully, January. So people can come and see this anytime they like. It's absolutely free to have a look at, and it is a fascinating view of our city.
Excellent. We've got your website on screen now for more information. People can go and see the rest of your work there. Aidan, thank you very much for coming in and seeing us, and thank you very much for the picture, because it does make a very pleasant walk into work in the morning.
It does indeed.
I'm glad to hear that.
Yes, thanks.
The Manchester Megaphoto remained on display until April 2009, when it was taken down. The right-hand side was put up in the Urbis shop. Not long after that, Channel M closed down. And then it was announced Urbis would close and the building would be converted to house the National Football Museum. The remaining section of the Megaphoto was removed. It was always intended to be a temporary exhibit. I didn't make any more megapixel images. It was a case of been there, done that. I moved on to other projects, leading to this YouTube channel. I hope you found this video of interest, maybe even inspiring, and please feel free to post a comment. I love to receive thoughtful comments, and currently I can reply to every one. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and click the bell button for notifications, because I don't have a fixed upload schedule. And you can support what I'm doing by buying me a coffee or tea. Link in the description. Vielen Dank fürs Zuschauen. Thank you very much for watching. Auf Wiedersehen. See you again soon.